Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers! Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And Dash Haber.
And Jacob Wile too.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we find ourselves on the cusp of Disney's big venture into the world of streaming, even courting a war in the process, we thought it'd be nice to stay up to date on the ever-growing catalog and rule on what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. Tonight we're talking about WandaVision, now in color, episode 3. Dash, it was Haber this whole time, not Haber.
No, yeah, sorry. It's, believe it or not, the name is a Carmen Sandiego reference.
Oh my god. Okay, this is just blowing my mind. Donovan, yes, we have seen the Godzilla vs. Kong trailer. If we have time, I can't promise you this 100% because I haven't talked to Dragon about it yet, but possibly we'll do a shot by shot on it tomorrow. Maybe. I'm not promising. But we might. But yes, I did see it. It looks good. Claude Coringa is also in the comments. He says, who else loves the different WandaVision intros? Yes, that is one of the things I am loving. So WandaVision, I would say clearly a big hit so far. I was a tiny bit critical about episode 2, just because I feel like episode 2 had some interesting breadcrumbs here and there, like the color stuff kind of like leaking into the black and white and the bee man. What's up with the bee man? Not the bees. But I thought that episode 2 just kind of felt a little too similar to episode 1 in regards to like, all right, we're stuck in this kind of sitcom-y world, and there's a laugh track, and the jokes honestly aren't all that funny. But you know what? I feel like episode 3, this is where it got it. I honestly feel like the show really would have been better off just premiering all 3 episodes as like one big kind of like mini movie event to start things off, and then we get 6 weeks of new content. Because man, I think episode 3 really just cements everything and puts it all into fruition of the potential that this show does have. Where we're not in just straight up like sitcom land anymore. This is definitely turned into something else where there's still sitcom beats to it, man. But I'm really excited about the directions that we're going.
Oh yeah, like this is the episode when they officially kick the main plot into gear.
Yes. Oh, a little side note, as you can probably tell by our image, we have titles now. So, there's that too. Yeah, now in color. And they're really good titles, very TV-centric titles. Why? I hate it when they do. It's like, it's just blatantly episodes 1, 2, 1 and 2, and presumably going to kind of go onward with that. But no! Now we have titles that we couldn't have had in the first place because, what are we spoiling? It's in front of a live studio audience. We couldn't have just said that. We couldn't just have that as our title in episode 1. No! But no, that's all negative I got on this, folks, because this is another great episode. It's a shame. See, originally the plan, apparently, the critics got 3 episodes. The general audience, not so much.
Another thing where, I would hear kind of like the critics hinting like, episode 3 is really good. Wait till you get to episode 3. And I'm like, well, you guys got episode 3. Why can't we get episode 3? I feel like we're on 2 different, like, playing fields right now. I don't know.
Unfortunately, because of that fact, you have people like my associate here saying, I don't know about episode 2. It's a little more the same. Or it's going somewhere quite clearly. We tee up something pretty big, and then, of course, if there are any doubts, there's episode 3. So, in retrospect, I wish we could kind of have that to kind of quail all the skeptics and all this. Like, I don't know about the pacing. Guys, the pacing's going to be fine. What more do you need? Proof in the pudding. There we go. So I wish they would have gotten that to present a fuller picture to a general audience, perhaps. But I really loved this episode.
Hi, I'm a general audience.
Yeah, apparently. So I love that here, we took the iconic TV trope of you kind of having a baby and the old kind of Dick Van Dyke model, if you will.
My bye-bye!
Who Dick Van Dyke was actually a consultant on this show.
Wait, really?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Ah, it's awesome. But yeah, so I like that we kind of took that classic trope and we've we've kind of applied my favorite thing about the show, kind of the mystery tone to it. Just kind of like we're getting kind of unfolding it like this really grand kind of mystery just sucks you in, and in doing that, we really help give this like we kind of it really helps giving this the big moment. And kind of the proper gravitas by the end of all this, just kind of all these kind of just subverting, just like, oh yeah, we've seen this trope before, but let's one celebrate, but also like kind of jazz up under the guise of this kind of comedy farce. We're gonna have such a huge momentous moment that's basically teeing up the tragedy that we're going towards here, which is fantastic.
If I had 3 words to describe this series so far, it would be baby's first Lynch.
Yeah, babies plural.
Yeah, but by that I obviously mean David Lynch, not
Well,
But I can definitely see that. Like, this feels like it has like some of the more surreal nature of David Lynch, but this is definitely
but way more accessible.
format.
Yeah.
Not accessible, but also actually makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right, Jacob, what are your thoughts on the episode overall?
I really enjoyed it. Like, I mean, I didn't have any problems with the first 2 episodes at all. Like, so this just basically continues the trend of like being Marvel's first foray into Marvel Studios' first foray into the TV world. Quite a big hit, quite a good hit so far. It's like breadcrumbs here and there with a little bit of. It's basically the top of it is basic sitcom, but if you dig down deeper, there's something weird or possibly even mad going on there.
Okay, so at this point, I kind of just want to let the comments dictate the conversation because we've got a lot of good comments going on. First of all, Claude points out, yes, the songwriters for the Frozen movies also wrote the theme songs. That's entirely correct.
Yes, Robert and Kristen Anderson Lopez. Yeah.
And Christoph Beck also did the scores.
I love Chris Beck doing some score. I loved it when he did Ant-Man. He's doing a great job here. Again, I still am head over heels for the end credits of this show, which I could never really say for any other show.
All right, so do you guys want to start at the twins or do you want to start at Quicksilver?
Well, first off, let's start with, it was mentioned earlier, the openings, which, yeah, I love that we keep changing up the style, and I love just to kind of talk about our change in setting.
This intro is more like Brady Bunch meets Partridge Family.
Yeah, so
the music was Partridge Family, but the actual presentation format of it was so Brady Bunch.
That's pretty much what I was going for.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And also, so importantly, again, it was kind of a question of how far we were going in our kind of our era jump, but basically what we kind of have here, it seems like early 70s is what we're kind of firmly doing, because we have a little bit.
It's like the first episode was the 50s, this one's the next one was the 60s, and now this one's the 70s.
Pretty much, yeah, or like kind of late 50s. Again, we kind of blended, because, I mean, there was black and white in the 60s, obviously, but then we kind of, color was the big draw of the 60s. So the point being, we kind of...
I feel like the first one was like early to mid 50s, the second one was like early 60s, and then the third one was firmly in the 70s.
Basically, yeah. with the fashion, definitely the 70s.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, which makes me wonder going forward if we're going to do kind of like, kind of in the vein of the two-parters, kind of like an early period, then a later period that kind of blends into the next. I wonder,
I want my Office style show, man. I want my pseudo reality show fly on the wall thing.
Well, I'm sure we're going to get that. It's probably once get to kind of the 2000s era, I'd imagine.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
But yeah, so we kind of blended a little bit of Mary Tyler Moore, Three's Company, and yes, and of course Brady Bunch. A lot of Brady in the end there with kind of our hexagonal thing. Of course, the hexagon very much being kind of an AIM reference, it seems.
I wonder if they'll like drop the laugh track totally when they get to later sitcom versions.
I don't know. That'd be interesting.
I could see that potentially happening, just style-wise. Once you get into like the mid to late 2000s, the laugh track format definitely dropped off from sitcoms.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like Malcolm in the Middle of The Office, various things.
No, yeah, the laugh track is definitely gone by the time those shows started airing.
I mean, sitcoms still use the laugh track, but it'll be hard to. It'd be interesting if this show like kind of drops it for like more of like a jarring effect, kind of.
Oh, I could see it just going quiet and that being like an eerie moment of like, oh wow, like shit's getting real now.
Right. So, of course, speaking of kind of our sitcom trappings, and kind of now we're in vibrant color now.
Now in color.
Yes, now in color. Even got like a little old school. I like the old school kind of recap that we now have, like Elizabeth Olsen kind of coming on there, saying previously on WandaVision. Of course, we have pregnancy, which was kind of the big cliffhanger we had last episode. So it was a genius idea to have time pass linearly amongst our dreamlike. Basically, time is passing linearly, but we're still having like this dreamlike, unexplained changes in the eras. And like, well, now we're in the 70s. We're in the late 50s, like Friday, and now we're Tuesday, and now it's going to come Friday. We're going to be in the 70s.
What are the standard symptoms at 12 hours?
Exactly. It's just you've never seen it done that way, which is really kind of the fun we're having in WandaVision now. We can kind of blend these eras and kind of raise the logical questions of, yeah, well, if she walks out, the neighbor's going to see she's pregnant the next day. Something's going to be off, like 4 months pregnant and growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this episode I think pretty much everyone else has already stated, it's probably the best blend so far of like, it's got genuinely funny humor in it. Like, not just like kind of corny, like, oh, it's like a throwback to how lame and dad joke filled old sitcoms used to be. Which that stuff is good in its own right. But like, I laughed hard at some of these jokes, like the like when the power goes out and the woman's like like something like, does this makeup make me look fat? And then
like,
the guy,
these earrings make me look fat.
Yeah, the guy's like, oh, thank God.
It's hard to believe that guy's the one that's married to Dottie.
Yeah, Norm.
Yeah. Also, I will say Jones has been like one of the things that has consistently gotten a laugh out of me every episode. Like, just whoever it is that's playing Jones, that guy with the mustache, has this top-notch delivery.
That was my grandmother's piano or something.
And he's married to Dottie of all people.
Yeah, which is even funny. Yeah, we kind of realized that here. It's really funny. Yeah,
it's like, oh, thank God.
All right, I just want to point out Simba Trey in the comments. How you doing, Simba? Nice to see you. I think he's thinking more realistically than we are, guys. He says, I doubt it'll go to modern era sitcoms. It looks like they just want nostalgic sitcoms like 50s through 90s, and it'll focus more on the main plot. Simba, I honestly, if I were a betting man in Vegas, I would probably go for your idea.
I think he's right, but with one exception. I'll be shocked if we don't do at least one Office nod with just kind of seeing of it.
I mean, it makes sense considering if there's not enough decades after this to left in the episodes to
exactly. Yeah.
Like, some people have speculated a Modern Family kind of jump, which I don't think we're going to go that far, but I think we're going to go as far as The Office. Maybe I think that's potentially as like when we go at the very least, if we get to that era, we'll see Vision at the workplace, and it'll absolutely be The Office.
Honestly, the format of something like The Office, as this whole sort of sitcom reality starts wearing even more at the seams, I think the fly-on-the-wall camera effect could work really well at selling just things getting even crazier.
Yeah, I agree.
What if they like pull something where like multiple eras clash at once?
That's possible. Reruns.
Oh, that is interesting. Yeah. I appreciate this comment from Donovan. Vision plus Jim. I would pay to see that. Let's see. Who is Ralph?
Okay, so there's actually a theory about who Ralph is. Did you hear about this, Tiki?
No, I did not. But okay. I love the Ralph Runnard though, just as a classic sitcom joke.
Okay, so yeah, of course, Ralph of Old Names definitely homage to the Honeymooners, which is kind of where we're starting.
One of these days, Agnes. One of these days.
Yep.
I just love the obvious disdain that this woman has for her husband.
Yeah, the fun fan theory has been that he might actually be a prominent character, that he might actually be the Grim Reaper character from Marvel, which could be really
Okay. Mephisto?
No, not okay. So Mephisto's he's essentially
God.
so the Grim Reaper is. I don't want to bore you all the details about the Grim Reaper. The
I'm
point
sorry, I've
being,
heard the name Mephisto being
I
thrown
know.
around.
We're gonna
Go
get
ahead.
Mephisto's theorized to be something else in this episode. The point being, Mephisto is kind of like kind of our devil character who definitely has designs on things that relate to Wanda and Vision. The Grim Reaper is a character who in the Tom King Vision comic, which this definitely has kind of at least an aesthetic, a big old aesthetic homage to, just the whole suburban kind of family angle and Vision having family. Grim Reaper breaks into his house and kills his family.
Oh boy.
At least I should say he tries to kill his family and kind of succeeds, but things don't go great for the Grim Reaper. He's the brother of Wonder Man, Simon Williams. There's a whole thing. I don't think we go that far into it. Some people are theorizing perhaps Ralph could be the Grim Reaper.
Grim Reaper's bones were spotted in the animated intro for episode 2.
Yeah, you see his hat. You see his like the little mask that he wears. It was in the '50s intro, so that's why. Again, at the very least, that's a nod to the Tom King comic. People don't know if that's going to be maybe a foreshadow for Ralph or not, which is good.
And another thing, actually, is that if you notice Agnes's little necklace near the end of this episode, it has the Grim Reaper on a horse on it.
Yeah. Oh boy, there's a lot to speculate on this one, but one thing I want to talk about before we get any further into that, I want to talk about the fruit bowl. Because I love the fruit bowl. The fruit bowl is the ultimate symbol of the TV pregnancy. Because
out of all the wild speculation that we could do, you want to go to the fruit bowl.
I do. Seriously, the fruit bowl was awesome. You know what's funny? Okay, when they did the Funkos for this, they did like the '70s variants for Scarlet Witch, and she's got she's holding the fruit bowl. It's always just really funny. But I love that the fruit bowl is one we use as a symbol for like the progression of the kids, when kind of the gestation of the child by proxy of fruit, and honeydew. Really cute.
Oh God.
But my favorite thing is
I can't wait to be a proud papaya.
Yeah, it was funny.
I think Paul Bettany is just like absolutely killing the sitcom lines, man.
I love Vision gets like all the dad jokes. It's just so
good. You can tell he's having fun with it at least.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, I will definitely say, like, our two leads are doing a great job, but man, is Paul Bettany just really knocking the sitcom energy out of the park.
Totally.
Now, the other thing with the fruit bowl is that I love that it's one of the oldest TV tropes in the book, especially through the '90s. But I mean, just in general, the oldest trick in the book is when the sitcom actress, when your actress gets pregnant, and you still need her to not be pregnant in the show, you obscure the pregnancy with either big old coats, objects, or, in this case, fruit bowls, which we do so wonderfully.
Funny thing is, I did the same thing in Age of Ultron.
Yep.
Okay, I want to ask you guys something in regards to like the comedy. One thing that I have heard that it's not a big deal breaker for me, but I've heard it criticized, and I kind of agree that the stork gag goes on a little too long.
Now back to the Mephisto point. So.
Oh no! The stork is Mephisto.
Yes, the stork is Mephisto.
Oh
That's
God! Never in a million years would I have speculated.
Okay, now I don't. Let me say for the record, I don't think it's true. I'm just saying that's the speculation because in the comics, the Mephisto, essentially Scarlet Witch, she couldn't have children with Vision, so she used magic to create said children. Now. She later had the unfortunate encounter with Mephisto, who basically absorbed the magic back into him, which basically meant the kids are gone, which kind of led her off the deep end to House of M. There's one of the things, a couple of things, that was the main thing. The idea of losing her kids really, kind of drove her to the brink. And so the idea being Mephisto being the symbol of the stork, and the big reason everyone's saying Mephisto is when she tried to make the stork disappear, had this red kind of plume of smoke, which of course was kind of a calling card of Mephisto, but also the stork would not disappear. The sword could just blow it away. The sword could not be stopped, as in, it's a symbol of there's a fate coming for these kids that cannot be stopped.
Interesting, very interesting. I just took it as a stupid freaking sitcom gag.
This is where I'm going to get headier and more endgamey on you, Tiki. Just get ready for this. So,
all right.
One more thing is that,
Go ahead.
Okay, the last thing is that, again, so Mephisto's, obviously many people know Mephisto for, outside of Ghost Rider, would know him primarily for the whole One More Day of it all. Now, again, one could assume, what if we did the ultimate subversion where everyone's expecting, I hope they don't do the Mephisto thing in this Spider-Man movie we haven't named yet. And instead, what if they pulled the Mephisto, made his grand entrance WandaVision?
I could see it.
And that basically the big wish would be, I want Vision to come back to life, which would result in the Doctor Strange, the multiverse of madness.
Okay, so I have a couple theories that I just want to run through, just because I feel like they're going to get lost in the shuffle if I don't say them soon. Theory number one is just kind of like a very basic kind of like baseline theory of where I think we're going to go in the MCU with this whole thing. I think basically what this whole show is setting up is Wanda being the sympathetic big bad of MCU Phase 4.
That is, well, it sounds about right, Tiki. The question is, because they keep moving around. Doctor Strange 2 is coming in what?
Because that's the basic thing for my theory, is that I feel like she is probably going to be, if I were a betting man, I would say she's probably going to be the villain of Doctor Strange 2, or one of the driving antagonists.
I'm still imagining the Vision. Yep.
Her and Mordo, at least.
Uh-huh.
Well, interestingly, I kind of think if she's the bad guy, imagine if Doctor Strange had to team up with Loki and Mordo to stop her.
Right.
That trio going after the Scarlet Witch, and of course they all probably had different designs. I mean, I imagine Loki with the whole time, TVA kind of assignment, that there's kind of that untrustworthy element. Mordo is like, no more sorcerers, and this is a big problem. We got to team up for them. We'll sell our business later. And Doctor Strange being like, I don't want to kill her, but she, basically put in the Jean Grey situation. I don't want to kill her, but she's a danger to everyone. I got to bring order to the universe.
And I think it could go beyond even Multiverse of Madness. I think crazier shit could happen even in Multiverse of Madness. I'm not sure, villain but anti-hero like Loki and Ragnarok. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm thinking like it could potentially even bleed into whatever they do for the next like big event movie. But we'll see. I'm just saying, like, I'm seeing like a multi-project baseline for Wanda just fucking snapping, and it being a point of kind of like no return for the MCU.
That's quite possible. Yeah, remember the other big bad they're kind of teeing. Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
The other big bad they're kind of teeing up is Kang the Conqueror for the Ant-Man movie. That's the only other contender I could possibly poke a hole in your theory. But at the very least, I agree with you. I think Wanda's going to be the bad guy in Doctor Strange. How given the placement of Doctor Strange and the reconfiguring of the MCU these days, I don't know if we're going to make her necessarily the big bad. But you're right. There could be a ripple effect. But at the very least,
just to clarify, I am absolutely like, I'm totally with you, Solaris Knight, on the whole like Wanda is an evil, just broken. Absolutely,
Yeah.
but. Still, that doesn't mean like you can totally write a sympathetic villain. You can totally write a sympathetic antagonist.
Yeah, we don't want her to get
Jacob,
killed.
trying to make a point.
The telling thing is that as far as been revealed, Vision is not known to be in Multiverse of Madness.
Well, I think Vision is very much not long for this world.
I'm pretty sure Vision's still going to be dead, but I don't know. And again, we could always build. I don't know. Vision's fate is up in the air. To be fair, because again, he's a machine.
Oh yeah, and yeah, Scarlet Witch. They've talked about for Multiverse of Madness, and I agree with that idea. I can definitely see like this causing maybe a ripple effect that opens up this whole sort of setup of a multiverse for the MCU.
Now, speaking of the ripple effect opening up the multiverse, that leads into my other big theory here. My big theory, of course, one of the big things that's getting people talking is the mention of Quicksilver, Pietro. One of the things I'm geeking out about genuinely is finally Ultron has been referenced somewhere other than Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. Like that in itself, just bringing up the actual threat level that Ultron was in his brief reign. But my theory is that I full on kind of think that Evan Peters is going to show up as Quicksilver.
Yeah,
I mean, crazier things have already been announced for the Spider-Man movie, and you know it.
Announced, but never confirmed, though.
And I'm not saying that they're gonna do like the whole X-Men universe is obviously the whole idea is that Quicksilver is going to be coming in from the Fox movie verse, but they have access to that universe. That universe has been used in different timeline crossovers before quite well. So, go ahead, Dash.
Oh yeah, even without getting into the whole matter of like the X-Men, bringing in Evan Peters as Quicksilver would be another neat way to show how this sort of whole reality Wanda is trying to make isn't quite working.
Right, exactly.
Like she sort of recreates Quicksilver, but instead of getting the Pietro she knows, she gets Peter. She gets Peter.
She gets fucking like bleach blonde haired Evan Peters.
Yeah, she gets the Quicksilver whose super speed is much more powerful.
Right.
I wonder if they're going to make a joke about just Evan Peters' Quicksilver being the much more beloved Quicksilver by the fan base.
But much less comics accurate.
Yeah, yes, but still, I just think as far as the actual enjoying watching him on screen goes.
Oh yeah, like say what you will about the accuracy of like his Quicksilver, that scene in Days of Future Past is still well liked.
Oh yeah.
Right.
All right.
So, okay, so just like transition a few things here. Maybe we should talk about the commercial this episode.
Hydro soap.
I was genuinely uncomfortable.
Really?
Just the bathtub bit. I don't know.
Well, you know, I kind of
Oh yeah, like I can kind of see that, considering I could see some folks potentially reading like a brainwashing take on it.
That's kind of where I was getting at it. Yeah, it felt kind of like Lost Dharma Initiative to me.
A couple things. I kind of read the bathtub as it's kind of a subtle nod to the Iron Man rescue in Age of Ultron. Rescues the Sokovian family in the bathtub.
Could be.
Everyone in the tub. I don't know, but actually, there's this actual fan theory going around that it'd be interesting if it could be true, but it does poke a hole in the whole Magneto thing. So, the theory, which sounds really good, it sounds really neat, but they'd be taking a stance on it, as in if they were to ever bring in Magneto, it'd have to be through a multiverse sort of thing. Is that her parents are presumed they keep using the same two actors in these commercials, the man, the woman, in the ads. It's the same pair of actors, and people theorizing that's her thinking of her parents. That got killed in the bomb.
Interesting.
Yeah. I heard another more outlandish theory for an endgame, just while it's kind of springing to mind here, which I don't know how this would work. It sounds interesting, and there's a little bit of credence for it. Where so Wanda somehow, I can't tell you how, is that she might be somehow possessing the power of all 6 Infinity Stones. Because if you think about it, because people have put out the theory that she somehow has absorbed the ether, the reality stone, which would explain the red and explain just kind of how massive her powers are getting in altering reality. But if you look deeper, you can kind of see she's used an element of each of the Infinity Stones. Now, again, I want to be clear. I have no proof of how this would be possible or anything. I'm just saying that if you look at what she's done, she's rewound time stone.
Twice.
Yes, twice. She's very powerful, Power Stone. Again, kind of manipulating a pocket of reality. I mean, kind of a little bit of a space stone. Again, it might be a reach, but just keep going here. That's 3. Mind Stone, clearly just to hold. They're all powered by the Mind Stone. And again, her own, like messing with people's minds, controlling them, presumably taking people from the real reality, dropping in, making them forget things.
And that's how Vision was born to begin with.
Exactly, the Mind Stone. At the very least, we all know that she and Vision are powered by the Mind Stone. That's always a constant. But beyond that, the Soul Stone, potential way of bringing Vision back. And again, like willing things in the reality, like children, perhaps, as far as we're concerned. I don't know.
But the Soul Stone would require a sacrifice.
Now, that, again, sacrifice being, again, maybe to come, or again, I don't know. It could be. The point being, I'm just in theory, Soul Stone, yes, requires a sacrifice. We don't know if that could be the kids, could be her sanity, could be a number of things. And then lastly, we have the ethers being the reality. I think, the reality stone.
That would be an interesting.
That again, I think it's a bit of a long shot, but just the reality thing did interest me. I had no idea how she would come to possess that.
I wonder how many people, when she did the time cut in this episode, I wonder how many people actually thought there was something wrong with their screen for a moment.
I know, it was very Andy Kaufman-esque. I love it. It was so seamless.
I mean, the people I was watching it were like, wait, what? They're like, wait, what the hell?
And yes,
I know I've seen a few YouTube reactors have like a momentary panic when that rewind happened.
I mean, I even like rewound it myself just to make sure.
And yes, executive. Cap did put the stones back, but remember, when the stones were put back, they were destroyed by Thanos. There was a one-time use sort of thing that went back. So the stones are out of the equation as far as we're all concerned. So, yeah. Anyway, but yes, speaking of that rewind moment, just to talk about the performances from our 2 leads a little bit more here. Again, I love that Bettany, of course, while playing the comedy so well as he's been doing so far, getting to play a Vision like we've never seen. He was kind of a subtle MVP this episode, man. I was so kind of compelled by what was going on with Vision here. I just loved the idea, the very Tom King-ish sort of idea, seeing Vision deal with fatherhood, man. He's kind of panicking like Dick Van Dyke. We have that beautiful moment when the babies are born. When the first baby's born, she says, "Hey, why don't you let him see what his father really looks like?" And Vision gets to show his real face to the baby, man. That was and also again him catching on to the little time loop thing. Him catching on to something being off. Herb just cut through it was like cutting through a bush. It ended up cutting through like stone. Originally, I thought they were going out of like people are trying to drill in from the outside into this realm, but no, he's just they're all kind of mind screwed right now.
Yeah, at first I thought that was kind of just like a visual pun that was supposed to be a gag within the sitcom, but then it's like, no, there's definitely something else going on there.
Again, I love that moment of genuine concern where you just kind of like you hear the dramatic music coming in, no sound, no kind of hokey soundtrack, no laugh track. It was like all drowned out for a second. Then bloop, okay, sentimental speech. Elizabeth Olsen, yeah, go on.
Excellent work in the with the performances this episode, especially how Vision is growing more and more aware of just how off all of this is.
Yeah,
and Wanda is definitely hiding something.
Oh, yeah.
The interesting thing about Wanda is I feel like a twist might be in store where it's like I am pretty sure knows more than the audience knows at this point. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, she absolutely does.
Did you see it? Did you see the way her face was? She's like, she had to leave.
Oh, yeah. This is the episode that really cemented that Wanda is the one pulling the strings around here.
All right. So speaking of which, let's get into Geraldine. Who? Yeah, that's definitely a big sort of theory starting thing with like what the hell is going on. We see her, from the get-go there's something off with her. She doesn't really remember where she came from, and then of course seeing her thrown out of the reality at the end of the episode, and what the hell, there's an actual town. That's a twist that I didn't see coming.
Yeah, this kind of proves my theory, that town.
And look at the name of the song that's used at the end too. daydream believer.
All right, yeah. So my theory's been that these are actual people who have been sucked in, as in like, with the exception of the babies, obviously, which is again, it's like that's somehow it's not going to end well. I can assure all of you gentlemen that. But
I very much believe it, Dragon. I believe it.
But essentially, everyone else, as you kind of
if,
saw in that, yeah.
if the babies are even technically real.
Yes, if they are, that's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, so again, all these people, again, they've been they live in this town, and they've pretty much all, with one exception perhaps, which I'll get into in a second here, they all live in this town, and they've just kind of been overtaken, just kind of dragged in. Geraldine's case, she's probably been sent in. Of course, basically, like her and that beekeeper are probably going in with a mission, and they're forgetting about it.
And somebody pointed out, like, unless like nobody can ever leave. Like, remember, the doctor said like no one can escape.
Yeah,
it's like basically, and with the implication at the end with how Geraldine was sent out, it's like nobody can leave unless Wanda makes them.
And of course, the whole "stop it, Arthur, stop it, stop it." Again, these people are desperately trying to get all this madness to stop. And if they question the reality, they can get killed off.
Do they see the black and white? Do they see what we're seeing?
Assumedly,
a lot of people are saying that like maybe she's asking Wanda to stop it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right. I can see that. But yeah, what's the deal with like the styles and the aspect ratio and everything like that?
Well, we have one scene that suggests that probably yes, because they're when they're talking to Vision, they're saying they're not explicitly. Remember, Herb was holding something back. Herb was holding something back that essentially everyone else has been saying. And the big question that we're teeing up here seems to be, is Vision a projection, or is he, again, kind of, is he been brought back? But that's the thing we don't know 100%. I mean, most likely he's a projection. That's smart money. The easiest, most straightforward option is that, okay, he's a projection, but he's a little more self-aware than the rest of them. But he's not in the know of the whole conspiracy. Therefore, like, that's why he's like a little bit more like, he's not changing. Like, he's not part of the simulation, so to speak, but he can be rewound like the simulation.
And knowing that Sword are technically the good guys and they're trying to get in there, like it's kind of implying a lot regarding what's going on in there.
Yeah, that's the mystery. I think I wonder if next episode we're going to start, because if you remember, we had that really awesome bit, kind of almost like Galaxy Quest, where we made the aspect ratio change, we made it bigger.
Yes.
We went to the MCU aspect ratio. So I wonder if next episode is going to start there, and then we're going to like transition in through like the force field, and then we're going to see what's going on the inside as our next jump, because there's a chance, again, if they keep doing the two-pair system, we might be back in the 70s, but like a later 70s thing next episode. I don't know.
That's true. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
I mean, I know there's at least something said during the 80s.
Oh yeah, there's very much an 80s set episode.
I know, I'm waiting for that one. I'm pretty sure the 80s, it's either the 80s or the 90s. I'm going to get my wish fulfilled on that one. I'm just waiting for that Halloween episode.
Oh yeah, if it's 80s, I fully expect Full House to be their main reference point sitcom-wise.
Wasn't Full House the 90s?
Let me do a quick check on that.
I thought it was the 90s.
Well, either way, Full House is probably going to get a reference considering the Olsen connection.
I know. That's also some...
looks like Full House started in 1987.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go. Right. So
like I said, it funny enough, has the Olsen connection.
Yes.
Of course.
So,
speaking of Elizabeth Olsen, I just want to get in there too. Is I love how she still continues to be so darn charming in this show. Very Farmiga-esque, man. I'm loving it. But again, with the element of menace rising underneath, like the end of the episode is quite terrifying. Which is, Wanda, where's Geraldine? She had to leave.
It's like it sounded like the stereotypical sitcom voice, but it just has like an air of like, yes, I know what's going on, but I'm not going to say anything.
Even beyond, the most talked about moment in the episode, as we kind of hinted at with the Quicksilver talk of it all, is that we had this beautiful scene with her and Geraldine, where really Monica, but Geraldine, where she says. But she kind of like breaks the illusion for a moment. I'm pretty sure that's what allowed her to break free, because when her focus was taken, like she birthed her children, and she's remembering the past she's trying to cover up right now with this whole illusion of, I used to be a twin. his name was Pietro, and she's singing the Sokovian lullaby, and I think that reminds Geraldine of who she really is and why she's there. And I love that Monica, essentially, she's serving her mission even though she doesn't know it. Think about it. Her whole thing is to save Wanda. So she's going in there, she's helping Wanda, and she's I'm sorry, so she's unconsciously, she's uncovering the truth. She's trying to figure out what's happening. That's why she's showing up at the house at the inopportune times, and she's helping Wanda when she goes into labor. So it's kind of her mission. Go in there, find out what's going on, and bring Wanda out of there. Help her, save her. Mm-hmm. As far as they know, which they don't really know what's going on. Yeah.
So.
Last thing I got, unless you guys have anything else, I got the Agnes of it all.
Well, I mean, like I said, once again, I just love all the Ralph jabs.
Oh. Ralph looks better in the dark.
Yeah, and Catherine Hahn has also really been nailing the sitcom energy really well too. Like first episode, when she hits the nosy neighbor archetype, just great stuff.
It'll be a gas.
God, these aren't gonna macrame themselves. Ding, like does a wink to camera with like little ding ding on the bike. Yeah.
And keep in mind, she also stopped Herb at that point too.
Yeah, she did. That's what I'm. Yeah, exactly. So here's the theory, and here's the most. I'm taking like 95% sure this is where they're going now after this episode. So I did a deep dive into the Tom King Vision book, and this is like she existed way before this, but it seems like she's absolutely going to be Agatha Harkness.
Yeah, I've heard that name thrown around. Sure,
Agatha Harkness. Long story short is yes.
Apparently, even the rabbit is being named Scratchy as a reference to her.
Yeah, and also like the people kind of saw the rabbit. No, not rabbit in the snowstorm reference, kids. Don't worry, not one of those. But it's a kind of reference to like the episode was in the episode where she was pregnant by the end. Yet another kind of fertility reference with the rabbit. But no, so Agatha Harkness, essentially she is the Scarlet Witch's mentor. She, Scarlet Witch was a mutant in the comics, which eventually she learned actual witchcraft from this lady. So presumably, if I'm feeling some speculating kind of pie in the sky right now, I'm thinking Scarlet Witch maybe either on mission she meets this lady or it's kind of in her own kind of private time. She's going to Harkness to try to figure out a magic spell, like how to harness her powers into a spell to bring Vision back. Which then spins out into all of this and kind of like you can create your own reality, and then you kind of forgotten all stuff like that.
See that? All right, guys, we got to get going here pretty quickly. So, you guys want to give your final thoughts?
Sure.
Yeah, really liked this episode. Can't wait to see the next unpeeling to this mystery and see just what happens next.
This episode raises a lot of questions. It's definitely opens up the doors to what could potentially be a very unique installment in the entire MCU. It's gonna be exciting, and for once we don't know everything at once when it comes to an MCU project going forward. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the plot unfolds. So far, it's got my attention.
Yeah, I'm still blown away by this show. Absolutely. Again, I do wish it was kind of available all at once. I mean, compared to their model, I mean, just for a change, given the cliffhangery nature of this, because we all want to know, and we're all going to be pretty much speculating almost the same thing every week. But it's fun, I guess. But it's. I mean, I just this is everything kind of could hope it could be, man. I love that within the comedy, within kind of the satire, we have that tension and mystery underneath. I love just Vision having a family, man, and again, just knowing that it's not real and it's just going to be so tragic when this is just kind of taken off the table. I mean, we have little Tommy and little Billy. That's a comics full, man. This is all just it's mind bending stuff. Like if you look at the show and the design, if you look at the sets, every detail counts in this show. I'm not just making up. Like in the back, all the paintings mean something. I mean, there are paintings of Sokovia. from when it was being destroyed during Age of Ultron, man. Everything's on purpose. A little magazine with the Scarlet Witch costume on it. It's all there. It's amazing. Love it.
All right. So big thanks to Donovan Martin, Claude Karinga, Simba Trey, Luke Talks About Movies, Executive, and let's see, and I believe also we had Solaris Knight. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will be back every Sunday breaking down WandaVision for y'all with a rotating panel. Thanks to Dash Haber and Dash Haber. I'm going to have to get used to that, Dash. This whole time, for like a year, I thought it was Haber, and you never corrected me. All right, big thanks to Dash Haber and Jacob Wile for coming on. And folks, if you've seen Earth to Ned Part 2, we're a little behind on it, but we are indeed going to be doing a podcast on it immediately, like in the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. Probably less than 10 minutes from now. We're going to be jumping right into it. So, stay tuned. That is also on the channel. And have a good night, everyone.
Night.
Hold on. We're not quite done. Well, that'll do it for us this week as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw. Mono y mono. Just Plus and us.
I can't wait to be a proud papaya.
Howdy do.
Oh, Ralph looks better in the dark anyways.